Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of City of Champions. We just finished year, I think this is what, year 8? What year are we in, 2029? Yes, we just finished year right here. We started in 2022, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so yeah, we just finished year 8. And this was the first year that I would say I was annoyed at the outcome. It feels like the games are out to get me. And I'll explain why here in a minute. So, regular season, we are the best city in the country in terms of our professional sports. The Twins ended up with the best record in Major League Baseball. The Wild ended up with the best record in the NHL. The Timberwolves ended up with the second best record, and we made the playoffs as the Vikings. But we didn't win a title. And it was incredibly frustrating in pretty much every single league. So I'll go over what happened here. So you can see with the Twins, we finished 102-60. Major changes to the Twins this season. You can see a noticeable lack of Juan Soto and a noticeable addition of Ronald Acuna Jr. So we decided to let Juan Soto go because we knew that we would pick up a first-round pick for him. He signed with the Yankees, a 6-year, $180 million contract. He went on to put up 6.6 WAR in New York, looked like a pretty good ball player. And in return, we made the decision to sign Ronald Acuna Jr. Now, Acuna, or Acuna Jr., I guess, we're paying him less. 6 years, actually, we're paying him more. 6 years, $188 million. But this year was only 24. Next year's only 28. It's this 32 and 33 season that'll be expensive. But so we gave up a third-round pick to get Acuna and got a first-round pick for Soto. So basically, Acuna and a first for Soto and a third. Seems like it worked out for me. We signed Trevor Rogers to a 5-year, $109 million contract. These last two are vesting options. I think 160 innings pitched, so I can weasel my way out of this if I want to. Rogers was phenomenal. 16-4 with a 2.55 ERA, put up almost 6 WAR, and he got hurt in the last week of the season. Because of course he did, because Out of the Park hates me. So we lost our ace going into the playoffs, and because of that, we ended up getting knocked out in the where is it? We got knocked out in the second round, Divisional Series. Knocked out in the Divisional Series by the Detroit Tigers, who went on to the World Series, lost to the Rockies. So, yeah, it was frustrating. It was frustrating losing your ace a week ahead of time for the postseason. So we lost to a team that was 11 games worse than us because, that's what Out of the Park does with their with their wild card teams. What other additions did we make? We made quite a few, actually. So on the pitching side of things, we already talked about Rogers. We also signed Dinelson LeMay, who got hurt midway through the season. It was a 3-year, $54 million contract with 2 team options. I probably will decline that option here. See if we can bring him back for a little bit less. I mean, his ratings are still okay, but he's getting up there, and we all know how quickly pitcher ratings can fall off a cliff. So we'll probably cancel or buy him out there. What else did we do? We signed Hunter Green to a 3-year, $14 million contract to be sort of a swing man. Didn't actually get any starts, but was really, really good as a bullpen arm for us. Sorry, my phone's going off. I'll get that in a second. What else did we do? Did we sign anybody else? We signed this Lucas Peccia out of Italy in July. His ratings look okay. I got a couple of starts in. He'll probably just be a, swing style pitcher unless that potential increases. But, there are some limits there, but not a bad pickup. From a statistic, we'll look at the offensive additions in a minute. But from a pitching stat perspective, Chase Petty, now 26 years old, 18 wins this year. So one of our first draft picks coming along really nicely, put up just under 3 WAR, but 18-4 with a 3.77 ERA, slots nicely into that rotation. Anthony Silvas, we used as a reliever this year, and he was phenomenal. 2.2 WAR, 1.32 ERA, 34 saves. I mean, he will probably win the relief pitcher of the year. We talked about LeMay. Dylan Quistad. Again, probably, I mean, he could easily be a starter with those ratings, but very, very good out of the bullpen. Christian McGowan, another one, had a good year out of the bullpen. Jared Kelly, who we picked up last year, was really good out of the bullpen. Gage Jump. We called him up midway through the season when we suffered some injuries. And he was okay as a starter down the stretch. I mean, 3 elite pitches. 3 really elite pitches. As a starter, his stuff, I think, is like an 80. So he could potentially be a decent starter. Chance Mako is now 25. It looks like he's close to his peak here. So, this is what he is. He'll probably put up an ERA of 4.5 to 5, but, that's okay. Caden Campbell, again, swing, played both as a starter and a reliever. Wasn't particularly good this year, but still relatively young. And then you can kind of see how the rest of the rotation went. Nobody was really bad this year, but nobody was really, really good. So, except for Rogers. You can see anywhere from 0.1 WAR up to 2.7, but nobody over 3 other than Rogers. So, from a lineup perspective, we already talked about Acuna. We picked him up. We picked up Shohei Ohtani. That's right. He was another one who got hurt. We picked up Shohei Ohtani on a 3-year, $10 million contract. It's just a nothing contract. He didn't pitch for us this year. You can see he put up 2.5 WAR, hit 28 home runs, knocked in 88, and got hurt right before the postseason. So we were without one of our top hitters and our best pitcher going into the postseason because, of course, we were. We signed Cavan Biggio midway through the season, and he likes playing in Minnesota, so we signed him in 2027, or we traded for him in 2027, put up a 115 OPS, 821, or OPS plus, 821 OPS. Signed him midway through the year this year, 986 OPS, 151 OPS plus, almost 2 WAR in just 35 starts. So we may try to bring him back next season. We signed Ramon Laureano. Initially, I wanted him as a backup. But he's very good defensively and has a little pop. Hit 24 home runs, knocked in 83, and I don't need a ton of offense given what we have in the rest of our lineup. So Laureano, if he can play good defense, I mean, I think his contract is up. Yeah, it was a 1-year contract. So we may try to bring him back. But Royce Lewis continues to just mash the ball. I mean, to the point where if he can keep this up for another... I mean, he's 29. He's fragile now, but if he can keep this up till he's 36, 37, I mean, we're talking 60 WAR over the course of his career, maybe 2,000 hits, 200 home runs. I mean, maybe. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa had an absolutely monster breakout season. We signed him to an extension, 2.7 this year, 2.7 next. Put up 5 WAR for us. Nico Horner, 4.5 WAR was terrific. Victor Robles was hurt for most of the year, but still put up 3 WAR. Played very good defensively. Tristan Cassius, back-to-back 40 home run, 120 home run seasons. So finally figured it out for Cassius at age 29. Allen we signed as a defensive guy. I mean, his ratings are fantastic, but he was really good with the bat as well. 109 OPS plus. Langelier we picked up in a trade. We got to do something about our catching situation is not great, so that's definitely going to be something we need to do in the offseason. I would like to re-sign Allen, and I would like to re-sign Pache to be our backup infielder and outfielder. But really, catcher is the only position that I am really going to be focusing on with the Twins during this upcoming offseason. The draft, if I remember correctly, this was a really good draft, if I remember correctly. Yeah, our first round pick was Cole Bourbon. We took him 27th overall, already 2.5 star, 3.5 star. Not great defensively, but passable. And worst case scenario, he can be a DH. He's already in AA, where he put up a 930 OPS. He'll be in AAA to start next season. We'll probably be up not long after that. Beauchamp was a comp pick. Struggled out of the gate, but I think he'll be okay. He's a two-way player. Can hit the ball as well. Pretty good defensively in the outfield. Maynard was our second pick. This guy was actually a reliever. coming out of the draft, so he was listed as a reliever. We drafted him and immediately made him an outfielder, and now he's the number 54 prospect in baseball. We didn't have a third or a fourth pick for the Rogers and Acuna signings, so then our fifth pick was Josh Frisbee, sort of a slap-hitting center fielder. Menton, I just liked because he had 3 decent pitches. Arnold, defensively. And then from there, I started picking players based on defense. Why did I take this guy? Oof, he's rough. Anyway, so yeah, good first. I'm really happy with the first 3 picks. And so that is your Minnesota Twins. So we'll spend the offseason taking a look and trying to find a catcher, maybe adding another pitcher to go alongside Rogers. We do have a little bit of money. Once we decline the option on LeMay, that should bump us up to about $30 million. So we do have a little bit of money there. So we should be able to make some additions. So that is your Minnesota Twins. Let's take a look now at the Minnesota Wild. And this was another frustrating season. 53-21-8, best record in the NHL. And we got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs against the Chicago Blackhawks, because of course we did. Suffered a couple of injuries. And the goaltending situation, I asked the franchise hockey manager guys, and I'm not going to worry too much about it because, I mean, ultimately we have 2 really good goalies. But Ivanov played 54 games. Wallstead played 31. Wallstead is the better goalie. But for whatever reason, the game decided to play Ivanov as the starter most of the season. At any rate, I'm not too fussed about it. But best record in the NHL, and we get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. So injuries were a thing. They're not there now, but injuries were a thing. You can see David Jiricek is out with a ruptured bicep tendon. He hurt himself midway through the season, so he was out for the year. But if you look at our stats summary, you can see Kaprizov over 100 points for a 3rd straight season, another 40-goal season for Kirill. Alexander Campbell centering that top line, 73 points, 79 games. Cale Makar continues to just produce 65 points in 82 games for us. Oh, we signed Joel Farabee. I forgot about that. We signed Joel Farabee to I think it was a 3-year, $18 million contract. Yeah, 3 years, $18 million. That should make Rit Flyers pretty happy. So Joel Farabee on the Minnesota Wild had a good season. 28 goals, 30 assists, 58 points for Farabee. Beckman centered the second line. Another 20-goal season, 57 points for Beckman. Caulfield got hurt, so his string of 30-goal seasons came to an end, but he did average a point a game. Adam Yeko, now up to 23 years old, had his best season. 20 goals, 29 points. Mazden Leslie, 46 points, a really good offensive-minded defenseman. Adam Nilsson, we signed last offseason. Offense 15, defense 15, physicality 15, only 22. I expect those mental ratings to increase. He's going to be really solid for us. Bryant was okay. He's a defensive-minded forward, which we need. Ryder Korzak, only 7 goals. It's a bit of a disappointment. Tanner Howe, 22 goals. That's nice to see out of the 23-year-old. Marco Kasper was meh. He's probably going to be gone next season. Aaron Kiviaru, 16 offensively, and he's not done growing yet, so looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like. Logan Crosby, we picked up off waivers at the beginning of the season, and he looks pretty solid. Jiricek, we talked about, he's out for the year. We also picked up Quentin Musty, just because of that name, off of waivers from the Red Wings. He looks pretty solid. Dubé, we picked up off of waivers. Cale Addison, his contract is up at the end of this year. I think his time with us is done. Jesse Nurmi didn't play much, only 24 games, 15 points. And Caden Price, we picked up off waivers as well. Again, I like that defensive rating. Goalie stats, Ivanov, 54 games, 38, 11, and 3, 287, 915. Wallstead, 15, 10, and 5, 299, and a 916. So another good statistical regular season. statistical regular season, more struggles in the postseason. I don't know what the answer is. I feel like we're set up really well offensively. We've got a number of really good defensive players as well. I might try to load up the defense this offseason. Not that we have a lot of money. You can see we're right up against the cap. But moving on from Addison could help. Maybe we don't need all of these 4, 3.5, and 4-star forwards. Maybe we can trade them for a defenseman. I don't really know. Depth chart. And I do this every year. I struggle with this every single season. So you'll just have to forgive me. There's got to be a way. Is it under history? Player index, jersey numbers, game records. I was told that you can pull up your what do you call it? You can pull up your history here, but I don't know where. For the first time in a while, we've got some draft capital. We have a first, 2 seconds, a third, fourth, fifth, and a couple of sevenths. So we have some draft capital, which is nice. Who was our top pick? I don't think it was Pat Peterson. He was picked in 2025. It wasn't Kuznetsov. It wasn't Perron. It wasn't Townsend. Was it Kostka? No, he was our 5th-round pick. Oh, we got him in a trade for Marco Rossi. Number 3 pick in 2028. So this is our 3rd-round pick last year, Thomas Marcinek. It wasn't Kuznetsov, was it? It was. Okay, so last season, German Kuznetsov was our top pick. The mock draft had him going 8th. We got him at 28, so I'll take it. He is 19. He's in Russia. He's in the K. I don't know that we're going to be able to sign him, but pretty good offensive rate. Yeah, that's right, because he was a good two-way guy. Good defensive ratings already for a 19-year-old. So I don't know when we're going to be able to sign him, given what his contract is in Russia, but we shall see. So that was our top pick. German Kuznetsov, now playing in St. Petersburg in the K. So yeah, I don't know what the move is here with the Wild. I think it might be to try to shore up the defense, but we shall see. We don't have a ton of money, so we'll have to see what we can do. So that is the Minnesota Wild. Let's go over now and take a look at the, I got to actually get into the game here. The Minnesota Timberwolves. So we finished 54-28. We finished with the best record in our division, best record in the conference again, number 1 seed at 54-28. It was tighter. I mean, you can see 54 wins took the conference. Second best record in the NBA behind the Raptors, who ended up winning it all. The Raptors are a machine right now. But yeah, so we made the decision to hold on to Morant. We signed Morant to a contract extension. You can see right here, 5 years, or I guess, 5 years after this one, 36, 38, 41, 43. And he put up Morant numbers, 27, 7, and just under 7. We held on to, you can see Ben Simmons. We held on to Doyle Beck for as long as we could. Bike, he just wasn't, he was still at that like 12, 4, and 4 mark. So I made the decision to move him. And again, injuries caused an issue. So we traded Doyle Bike to the Trailblazers for Ben Simmons and a 2029 first-round pick that was Houston's. Now, my thought process was that Simmons wasn't as good an offensive player as Bike, but was better defensively and could run the point, and that would give Morant an opportunity to, play strictly shooting guard. And then, of course, Ben Simmons hurt himself. and was out for the year. Broke his elbow. He got hurt. He was knocked out for the season. And then we also lost John Morant for the first 5 games of the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers. So we were without Morant and Simmons. So that kind of kicked me in the ass. But the good thing about that pick is I mentioned we have Houston's pick. If you look at the league standings, here are the Houston Rockets all the way down here at the number 3 pick. So we could end up with a top 3 pick with coming off of a 54-win season while having John Morant and the rest of our team. So I'm excited about this upcoming season. So let's take a look at how things went this year. So we had our first round pick this year was XAVIER Brown. We drafted him 20th overall. When we drafted him, he was 1.5 star, 3.5 star. He's already 3.5 star, 4.5 star. He's going to be a stud. Not a great shooter, but a great ball handler, a good scorer. He will be our starting point guard next year alongside John Morant. So next year, we're going to be running it back with Morant and Brown in the backcourt. Our front court will be THUNELL, Gordon, and Bonner, and then we will add what we can add through the draft. So Gordon had a really nice year, another almost 20 points a game for us as a 22-year-old. We locked him up for 3 years beyond this one, 28, 30, and 32, but I think that's well worth it now. Simmons will likely walk. We might be able to re-sign him. It all depends on what he's looking for, I guess. THUNELL was okay. We may move him because he signed 27 this year, 29 next year. Very good defensively, but I don't know that I want to pay almost $30 million for this. I'd rather bring back Ben Simmons and play him at the 3 for that kind of money. So we will see. Josh Bonner continues to shoot the ball too much, given that he's awful at it, but almost 10 points, 9 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 3 blocks a game. He gives us what we need. We just need him shooting less. So that's something I will need to talk to him about. I talked about XAVIER Brown. Trent Means was our first-round pick a year ago. Averaged over 10 points last year, a little bit less this year, but next year he will be the main backup off the bench behind Brown and Morant, so I expect to see more minutes from him. We signed Desmond BANE to the mid-level exception, and he was pretty good when he wasn't hurt, and he got hurt like 5 times during the season. Obi Toppin always plays pretty well in these, so I like to bring in Toppin, so I may try to bring him back next year as a backup power guy. Good defensively, decent enough scoring off the bench. Greg Brown we signed to a minimum contract. David Marshall was the 7th overall pick, and he was traded to us. The Pacers offered us Marshall, who was the number 7 overall pick, and Duan Hernandez that we never played for us. And we traded them Marvin Bagley in a second. So basically we traded Bagley in a second for the number 7 overall pick in the draft. Kai Jones, we brought back again as a backup center. Probably continue to do the same thing as long as he's willing to sign with us. We signed Thibault midway through the year just to give us a defensive presence. And so decisions to make here for the Timberwolves going into next year. What do we do with John THUNELL? Is it THUNELL or Simmons, or do we try to trade THUNELL at the draft or maybe a sign and trade because I think scoring we're going to be okay with Morant, Gordon, and Brown. So it's all about defense, rebounding, that sort of thing. So, are we better served with Ben Simmons, or are we better served with John THUNELL, or neither? So that is something. Because I would be fine with Morant as my shooting guard, Brown as my point guard, and Simmons as my small forward. I'd be completely fine with that. So that's something we will have to decide going into next season. I'm very excited about the draft lottery to see where we land in terms of draft picks, because again, we could end up with a number 1 pick in the draft. So we will see how that goes. And then last but certainly not least, the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings were the one team that weren't really dominant. We finished, I think, 10-7. 10-6. Why did we only play 16 games this year? I realized that at the end of the season. For some reason, we only played 16 games this year. I don't know why, but you can see 10th in points per game, 10th in points allowed. We made the playoffs. We lost in the first round. So we've made one Super Bowl as the Vikings. Still haven't won one yet. So the Vikings, I think the Vikings and the Wild are the two teams we haven't won anything with yet. So John Anderson was the quarterback we picked up last season. Threw for almost 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 picks. He was really good. Completed 71% of his passes. Just has a noodle arm. And again, really bad strength. So, he's not irreplaceable given his contract and what might be out there. So he's certainly not irreplaceable. Rushing, we signed Jeffrey Spence to a contract. He played for the Texans prior to this season. First year with us, 890 yards on the ground, 7 touchdowns. Frank Deuce's contract is up at the end of this year, but he only wants $6 million to come back next year. He put together another nice season. But again, we had a running back by committee set up this season for us. So our running game was great. 1,700 yards and 18 touchdowns out of those two guys. Justin Jefferson just continues to amaze. 131 catches for almost 1,600 yards in his career now. 919 catches for over 10,000 yards and 65 touchdowns. Gary Fay was our second-round pick this year. And again, it might have something to do with the noodle arm and the strength, but under 10 yards a catch, 6 touchdowns for the rookie out of Indiana, Gary Fay. Aubrey Ashley was a tight end free agent signing, 2 years, $6.25 million. Him and Robson, 129 catches for 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. You can take it as your tight end. James Barnes, again, under 10 yards a catch. So, yeah, I need to figure out why these averages are low. We got off to a slow start defensively, and that's because Myles Garrett got hurt. We got Garrett back like week 12 or something. Tremaine Edmonds led us in tackles again with 118. Lacey Bush, our young cornerback, second season now, 4 picks this year, 81 tackles. J.C. Horn, opposite side. We got 2 really good cornerbacks, a really good strong safety, and Cochran. Samuel Wallace, really good young, I guess he's 26 now, but free safety. OMAR Sumner just continues to truck away here. 16 sacks this year, so 85 sacks in his 6 pro seasons. Roberto Regan was our top pick a couple years ago. The development hasn't quite been there yet. So pretty good offensively, pretty good defensively, but not enough to kind of put us over the edge yet. Our draft, who was our first pick this season? I don't remember. We'll find it, though. Right here. Gerald Sander, guard out of East Carolina, 23-year-old, 80 overall. Our second-round pick we talked about was Gary Fay. Is our third-round pick Micah Davis? Yeah, it was. Another wide receiver. That was kind of a meh pick. Harold Ing was our 5th-round pick, a tight end that was meh. That's our 6th pick. Hugh Avalos, a defensive tackle. This was an awful pick. 21 years old, 59 overall. Yeah, we had a couple of really bad picks. 4th-round pick here, Scott Rhodes, 65 overall. Robert Harmon, 6th round, 61 overall. Tyrone Hardy, 6th round pick, 62 overall. So Sander and Fay were good picks, and the rest of the draft was trash. So what do we need to do with the Vikings? The quarterback situation, I think, needs some attention. A quarterback with a 24 strength and a 72 arm, he just can't get the ball downfield, and we have some talented offensive weapons. So Anderson's always sort of going to be on the chopping block with his contract, so we'll see what is available in free agency. I think we're okay in the running game with Spence and Dew. Our passing game, I think, is fine with Ashley, Robson, Fay, Justin Jefferson, James. I mean, we're okay at wide receiver and tight end. Offensive line, we're fine. Sigler and Sander as our guards. Our center is Osorio. I think his contract is up this year, so we made in a new center. Our tackles are okay, O'Neal, and then we have 3 young players who could step in on that other side. And defensively, we're really good. Defensive tackle, William Fullerton, and Joshua Hook, we signed him during the preseason, so we may need to do something there. But Fullerton, and then Sumner, Garrett, Peyton Turner as our defensive ends. Linebackers, we're getting older. Edmonds is 30. Jabril Cox is 30. Regan may have to step in next year, so hopefully he finally gets some playing time and he can do what he needs to do there. Safety, cornerback, and free safety were fine. So I think linebacker, defensive tackle, and center, and then quarterback, obviously, is what we need to focus on with the Minnesota Vikings. So, yeah, another really, really good regular season for all of our teams. I just can't break through. So that's 8 seasons. So we are about 44% of the way there. We have 3 of our 12 titles. So we really need to break through here over the next couple of years and have some success. We had 9 titles that we need to come up with here in the next 10 years. So 9 titles in the next 10 years. Can we do it? I don't know. I mean, we're set up. The teams are really solid, so we will see what happens. So until next time, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks.